Hi, this is Hank reporting from Kyiv, and this is my update on Russian-Ukrainian war. Let's see what happened around Ukraine in the last 24 hours. 3 command posts destroyed. Russians destroyed their own aircraft. Turkish floating Electrostation. 3 days computer game. 5-hour-long air raid. Okay, let's start in order and with good news. This video was filmed in Donbas region in Avdiivka, a very fortress that was lost earlier this year primarily due to a lack of artillery ammunition. This episode can be considered probably the biggest loss this year to date. Russia paid a high price for the capture of Avdiivka both in the number of lost soldiers and in the destroyed equipment, but nevertheless they took this strategically important territory and we also suffered losses there. Now we are taking it back step by step. In the video you can see the airstrikes of our aviation on one of the command posts of the Russian army in Avdiivka. The official statement of the General Staff of Ukraine sounds like this. The command posts of the 27th and 35th Motorized Brigades and one of the posts of the 2nd Combined Arms Army of the Russian Armed Forces were successfully hit. It seems to me that I translated the last one incorrectly. In general, it means an important command post of one of the armies. The combat work was carried out by units of the Air Force and missile troops and the artillery using Storm Shadow missiles and the GMLRS. There are no details or statistics, there are no photos or videos up close yet, but judging by the fact that the General Staff put this in a separate statement, then these 3 command posts at once is a big catch. We discussed this video all day yesterday and there were many different versions. Firstly, it's very rare to film such an air battle because Russians are afraid to fly into the zone of our air defense, thanks to the Patriots and dozens of other systems from our partners. Probably today Ukraine has the largest number of types of weapons on the planet. We literally assemble a defense from everything we can. Secondly, we managed to get the facts. This is a Russian Su-57 jet shooting down a Russian heavy S-70 drone. According to Russian sources, they lost control and decided to shoot it down so that it would not fall into our hands for study. Well, that was the plan. In this video you can see the remains of the machine, which were filmed by our military. Here you see that they are dressed in Ukrainian uniforms and they speak Ukrainian in the background in the original footage, filmed in Donbas. This is not the main thing, just to record the fact. The main thing is that this is what was shot down. The product called S-70 Hunter is a super rare Russian heavy drone with a wingspan of 20 meters. Its characteristics are classified. It's really very big, you can see it in comparison with the size of a person. This is the first case in history of shooting down such a drone, and the fact is that only 3 of them have been built in 9 years and 3 more are under construction. By the way, we know about 3 from the Russian sources, and no one ever saw these 3 in one place, so take it as it is. Of course, the Russians started writing no big deal, the main thing is that we did not lose pilots, we will build another drone, but come on, you barely built 1 or 3 of them in 9 years. What are the chances that during the sanctions period you will at least finish building the remaining 3? I wonder what we will learn from the received debris. And that's what is more realistic version. Perhaps this is a copy of what was already created earlier. Well, you know how Russians like to buy Chinese or Iranian no-name products or brand it and say that it is their new super-secret one-of-a-kind level development. This is how they buy the Shahed drones and call them Geran 2, and Iran immediately denies that it sold thousands of such drones to Russia. Above you see the American Lockheed Martin RQ-170, below is Iranian cheap knockoff Shahed 171. They made a copy but decided to make it number 171, not 170, to be one ahead. Let's wait for the results of the study of the down device. Ukraine is preparing for winter and for the next Russian attacks on our power grid. Before the war it was simply impossible to imagine this, but for the 3rd winter in a row we have been living in such conditions. Personally, I have a small needs in electricity. I need to power my laptop, a smartphone, a refrigerator and a washing machine. I use very little electricity per month and sometimes I work away from home, so now I will not buy a charging station for myself. Perhaps I will buy a large power bank for my laptop though. For a large family and people with small children, the situation is much more difficult. They need electricity much more than I do. We all live in a state of uncertainty and remember that threats of threats of an attack on 3 nuclear power plants. Recently, information appeared that the Turkish company Car Power Ship, the world's leading operator in the field of floating power plants, will provide us the first floating power plant with a capacity of 250 megawatts. It will probably be a huge vessel that will supply the south, I suppose Odessa, because more or less control the sea there, and from the ports of Odessa our ships carry Ukrainian grain all over the world. I have an idea that Putin will refrain from attacking the Turkish power plant so as not to spoil relations with Erdogan. I remember that in 2015 Turkey shot down a Russian Su-24 that violated their airspace and one pilot was killed. Then nothing happened. As far as I remember, Putin and Erdogan talked on the phone and everyone happily forgot about that pilot. No escalation, no nuclear missiles on Istanbul, etc. Turkey showed strength and Putin understood. This is what all of our partners should learn. Putin understands only brute force and not persuasion or pleas for peace. I hope we will be able to provide ourselves with electricity at least partially using Turkish flooding infrastructure. Ukrainian developer Cybernation is creating a game called 3 Days about Russian-Ukrainian war. The name 3 Days with a stylized letter Z reminds of Putin's desire to take Kyiv in 3 days. Considering that millions of people still play stylized war games dedicated to the events of 80 years ago, this is a logical event because it is difficult to imagine a crazier action game today. I do not play games, but this is a personal matter for me. This is a fragment of the gameplay. Here you see how Ukrainian soldiers are walking towards the main entrance to the Azovstal plant. For me this looks amazing because this is my hometown. This place is just over 1 kilometer from my house and I've been here for many times. For those who live in Paris or New York, such things are commonplace because large cities are often used in games and films as a platform for the development of events. Mariupol and computer games are probably the first time in history that they are used in one sentence. And that's even more, it's all based on real events that are happening right now, just today. This story is still being written and the plot is not finished yet. We don't know when and what our victory will look like and how much we will pay for it. This is something unique. Here is an example of a playable game character. This is a real person, Mikhailo Vershinin, the head of the patrol police of Mariupol, a man who went through all the battles from the very beginning and then, together with the rest, was captured after 86 days. And now you will be able to play using his character. And this is a screenshot from a real video that was filmed in Mariupol in 2022 at the beginning. Here Mikhailo addresses the government and says that Mariupol urgently needs air defense. As you can see, the character in-game is copied from his real appearance quite accurately. And this is what Mikhailo looked like after 4 months of Russian captivity when he was exchanged as a prisoner of war. It's all so amazing to perceive, and I understand for the world that our war is in many ways a reality show. People go online to read the news, find out what happened, and there are maybe even make some bets. I'm sure that there are those who are more for Russia and want us to lose for some reason. I try to treat this without judgment, but the whole story is very personal for me. It literally concerns my life and this war is very expensive. If creating a game about our tragedy will help us support the army, then so be it. These developers are subscribed to me on Instagram and I know that they often collect donations and directly help the military. I will leave a link to the game's website. There is a detailed description in English if you are interested. I'm waiting for the release and maybe I'll even find time to play. Last night the Russians launched more than 80 Shaheds and a couple of missiles into the territory of Ukraine. In Kyiv, the air raid siren lasted for more than 5 hours. It seems that they have changed tactics and now they do not launch all at once, but spread them out over a longer period of time. It's difficult to say how effective this is, but long attacks are more annoying because you have to wait longer. In general, I have the feeling that they are simply doing something out of inertia for the sake of doing without really counting on the result. Roughly speaking, Putin asks, "Did you attack Ukraine last night?" "Yes, we did. We launched 80 drones." It seems like there is movement, but there is no point except that we are not getting enough sleep. Roughly speaking, the Russians are simply throwing away the cost of building a new hospital or school just so that the Ukrainians do not get enough sleep. Doesn't it sound strange? It's raining in Kyiv today, but events are taking place. Territorial Defense Day. These are our units created from ordinary people who are heroically fighting against professional enemy forces. In 2 years, TRO became an amazing example of courage. There is also a big demonstration of families of prisoners of war who demand an exchange. We really need to get all our people back to freedom. Unfortunately, I'm very busy with work and I miss photographing these events. If you want to support this channel, all the links are below. I updated the Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee. I'm currently running low on coffee after sleepless night. Thanks to everyone who supported us today. This was my update on the Russian-Ukrainian war for day 956. Take care and I hope to see you tomorrow.